Good morning and welcome to QML 25. This is our first QML session of 2020 and we are excited to have you with us, and we are very much looking forward to our presentation today. I'm going to turn things right over to our director of Qualfon University, Al Baranachia, who will give us our agenda and tell us what's in store for us today. Al, how are you, sir?
All right, Jeremy. All right. I cannot complain. And if I complain, you don't listen to me.
No.
Welcome everyone to QML number 25. We're very, very glad to have you here. We always appreciate the time, the effort that you put from your busy agendas to join us. So thank you very, very much. Today is a very interesting QML because we're going to switch a little bit from what we have been doing, You Matter with Mike, and now more into this particular one, optimization. What we're doing in process optimization, which we have been doing a lot. 2019 was a busy year, and it looks like 2020 is going to be a little bit busier, and we'll explain that. So in the agenda, we'll go ahead and talk about the poet. There has been a lot of talk about the poet, and how can poets help in process optimization and all that. And we will certainly explain that. We will hone into a particular area of the process optimization engineering department, which is really what POET means. That Juan Pablo, who is joining us here today, otherwise known as JP as well, and welcome JP. He's in charge of major processes, so he's gonna talk about a little bit about what has been done and what is that area doing as we speak, what is coming forward. And we will talk a little bit as well, new concept, a very, very important concept for us here in Qualfon, simply because of the mission that we have, and we call it the PMC, or the process moment of care, which is very, very important because this is what we do very well here at Qualfon. We care for the person. Speaking of process optimization, as I said, POET means exactly that. Process optimization engineering, then the T is for team. Now we call ourselves poets, and perhaps grammatically that has a little bit of an issue, but it is just a fun and easy name to remember. As normal, Qualfon University reports into the mission office. That never changes. And then the process optimization engineering department is sort of a new, as I said, we have done a lot of process engineering optimization in 2019, but this time we are making it perhaps more formal, and most importantly, dividing it into three big areas. The first area is what we call the major corporate processes. That's what JP is going to talk about. The second area is the quarterly process reviews. That's going to be handled mostly by Alvaro, and he's here with us. Hello, Alvaro, how are you? And what Alvaro will be doing in that particular area is two things: making sure that we adhere to those processes, corporate processes, such as the end-to-end process that we've already implemented everywhere in the company, that we adhere to those processes. And at the same time, trying to identify opportunities for improvement of those particular processes. And then the last area in the department is the strategic account processes department. So we have identified 4 strategic accounts in the company, and those are Uber and T-Mobile and ARS, forget the last one. Anyway, I will remember. As you can see, it is a very new department. And we will, in that department, we will hone in trying to move from a tactical sort of relationship, with the client, where the transaction is the most important thing, to perhaps something more strategical with the client. All right. So it depends on the client, our relationship, where we're at in that particular path with the client. And that's what that will be all about. So JP, welcome again. Major corporate processes is what JP is honing in. And I missed to say that I will be the one honing in on the strategic account processes when we are able to staff it. We're in the process of staffing that particular department. And And I will be talking a little bit more about that when we have it full and up and running. So JP, welcome, and you take it over from here.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Al and Jeremy. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to such an important audience, so all the Qualfon mission leaders of the company. I'm really excited about that. And also I'm excited because as poets, we really don't own any processes, but the people that are in these conferences, all the Qualfon mission leaders, they are the owners of the process of the entire company. So, so the poets, we really need to work as a team with everyone in this call to make what we do a success. So first I want to cover some basic definitions just to make sure that we're all in the same page. So I'm sorry to disappoint you if you thought we were going to be discussing literature when you saw the invitation for this QML. But as Al was saying, POET stands for Process Optimization Engineering Team. And what does a poet do? So a poet works on client projects. There could be internal or external clients. So an internal client would be another department inside Qualfon. So it could be finance or the person office or payroll. And an external client project is when we work directly with one of our clients in optimizing another value to their processes. Also, the poets work as part of a team. So as I was saying, we don't own any of the processes of the company. So we really need to work as a team with all the Qualfon mission leaders and all the owners of the processes to make sure that we can optimize them together and build a better operating model. And lastly, a poet takes responsibility for problem solving. So we actually own one process in the company, and that's our approach to problem solving. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that, and that's in the center of what a poet do. So now I was showing the different areas of the department and what makes a process to be a major corporate process. So they have to be of high impact and be aligned with the Qualfon strategic plan. So there's a big return on investments for these processes, and they are cross-functional, meaning they involve multiple departments in the company. So we work as a team with finance and with the person office, and together we analyze and optimize these processes. And lastly, these major corporate processes, they begin as a project. So like end-to-end begins as a project, but ultimately it becomes part of the company DNA. So it becomes a process, and it's part of what we do and how we do things on a daily basis. So as I was saying before, this is the only process that we own, and this is our problem-solving approach. And this is the key to what we do because it allows us to get the results that we want and to optimize and solve the problems that we're going to be focusing on. So the first thing we do is that we define the problem. So we make sure that we have a very clear definition of what we're trying to solve. And then we break it down into all of the multiple components to find the root causes and break it as small as we can and focus on those things one by one. And then when we have all those causes, we prioritize them. We want to focus on the ones that are going to have the highest impact and are going to be easier to implement. So once we do this, we create the standard operating procedures, which can be the solution to the problem. So as you see, we define the problem, and then all the way until step number 4 is the solution of the problem. And this is very important because we normally have the tendency to jump to the solution as soon as we see the problem. But it's very important that we take this structured approach to define the process, break it down, and prioritize in order to make sure that our solution is going to have the biggest impact, and that we can analyze if the solution has an impact or not. So that's the next step that Jeremy's pointing at. So the analyze, we look at all those items that we had in the SOP, and we analyze whether they had the impact that we were intended or not. And lastly, when we've completed the analysis, we communicate it with the entire company and make it part of the company's DNA. So make it a major corporate process. So now we're in the part of what we've done so far. So end-to-end is one of the biggest projects that we've done so far. And what is end-to-end? So you probably heard a little bit about this, or you've been part of the team that is been implementing end-to-end in every site. So end-to-end is Qualfon's operational processes and standards for recruitment, training, and transition to production. End-to-end is measured by a single number, and that's little n. So if you see in the funnel diagram that we have, we start with big N, which is the number of applicants that we have, all the number of people that we need to be in contact with in order to make sure that we fulfill little n. And that is the required headcount by the client. And the objective of end-to-end is to meet the client's required headcount 5 days into production. So when the client tells us that they need 100 people, that means we don't want to hire 100 people. We want to have 100 people, or we don't want to graduate 100 people. We want to have 100 people 5 days into production to make sure that we are meeting and taking advantage of all the opportunities that our clients are giving us to be able to provide a great service to them. And so end-to-end, how it looks like from a process optimization perspective is it's a system of processes. So we divided the first 3 stages from end-to-end, which is the recruitment stage, into 3 major steps. So that's sourcing, selection, and mind the gap. And then sourcing, every blue arrow that you see in the screen is one of the processes that we've documented and implemented. And then the boxes surrounding the processes are supporting processes. So for example, there's a box enclosing the sourcing processes, and that's the employee referral program. And that's because this process of referring employees to be part of Qualfon really supports the operational processes of sourcing. Thank you, Jeremy. I think we can go to the next one. So how does end-to-end look like in practice? So here we have a snapshot of one of the monthly reports for one of our sites. So this is what the process looks like in real life. So we keep track. Oh, sorry about that. We keep track of the number of applicants. We keep track of the interview schedule, and then the interviews completed. And once we have all the interviews completed, we take note of the offers accepted. So how many of those interviews were ended up in hires? And then how many of those offers accepted actually came to day one and were hired and onboarding to the company. And we compare that to little n, which I said was the single number that we measure end-to-end, and that is the required headcount in production. So we want to make sure that we're meeting those client requirements. And then you can see in the report a whole group of charts and graphs that gives us all the key information that we need in order to operate this process successfully. So we can see the performance by source, we can see the total hire programs, the total hire by program versus the requested headcount. We can see the top reasons for rejection, and so on. So what results have we gotten so far? And in this slide, I really need to highlight and mention that this is not, so sometimes the poets, or we get to talk a little bit about this and get to show off the results that we've gotten. But as I was saying before, we really cannot take full ownership of this. So we don't own any of the processes. And this is really the result of a collaboration with the person office and everybody involved in talent acquisition and all the other process owners of these stages. So if you see in the graph of the before and after, we have 4 main metrics. So that's the client required headcount. So how many people they are asking us to hire, the number of people that we actually hire, and the fill rate, which is, you know, how many of the required headcount are we actually fulfilling. And then the last metric is the hiring capacity. So how many agents per month we are able to hire. So this is an example of one of our sites, and you can see before And the dark blue is in the months before the end-to-end implementation, and the light blue is after. You can see how all the 4 metrics that we have increased significantly. So the client recovery headcount went by double in the next 5 months, and the hiring capacity will also increase significantly. And in the run chart that we have on the right, it's really important that we keep those higher numbers higher than the client required headcount. Make sure that we take advantage of all the opportunities that our client gives us to service their customers. So now that was end-to-end. That was a quick overview of what we've done so far. Now I want to talk about what's next. So what are we going to be focusing on? And there are 2 main projects that we have in the table right now. One is 0 to 60, and the other one is build to pay, which we call B2P. So 0 to 60, the scope is similar to end-to-end. It's about staffing. It's about having the right number of people with the right profile at the right time servicing our clients. And the specific objective of 0 to 60 is to decrease the attrition during the first 60 days of employment. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this later, of why we're choosing this bucket or time period in the experience of or the journey of an agent. And build to pay, the scope is a little bit different. It's more related to finance and operations. And here we want to reduce the gap between billing hours and the payroll hours. So we want to make sure that we optimize that ratio and get the most out of what the clients have given us. So now I'm going to do a quick introduction to 0 to 60. So why 0 to 60? So we took a list of all the terminations that happened in 2019 in a couple of our sites, and we divided them into buckets of time periods. So first, all the people that we hired that didn't show up for day 1. So those are the day 1 no-shows. And then all the people that were terminated during the first, or that left us during the first 60 days, and the next 60 days, and so on. And what we found was really interesting. So 64% of the terminations in 2019 happened during the first 60 days. 20% of these were day 1 no-shows. So that's people that we hired that went to the entire recruitment stage of the end-to-end process, and then they never showed up to onboarding or to day 1. And then the biggest bucket, so that's the 0 to 60, and is the one that we're going to be focusing on this major corporate process. That's 44%. That's incredibly high number. So 44% of the terminations during 2019 happened within the first 0 to 60, during the first 60 days. So that's a huge opportunity, huge number of people that we have the opportunity to help and to serve with our mission that are leaving us in the first 60 days. So that's what we're going to be focusing on and making sure we decrease that number. And just for some external validation, so according to Indeed, which is one of our main sources for new hires in the United States and in other geographies, 65% of the new hires in their website look at new jobs again within the first 91 days of being hired. So this is an incredible statistic that we want to make sure that when someone works at Qualfon, they fall in love so much with the company, and they're so happy to be with us that they don't have the need to look at other companies for other opportunities. And then in the bottom of the screen, we have what we're calling the attrition distribution. And this is one of the main methods that we're using to analyze the 0 to 60 process. So we look at the first 240 days of the agent journey, from day 1 or onboarding all the way to 240. And then the line shows us how probable is for an agent to attrit on those days. So you can see if we start on the right, there's very little probability that someone's going to leave in the 240 day. And so on. It's very stable until we get close to that 0 to 60 stage. So that's where most of our agents are leaving us, and that's where we're going to be focusing on this new process. So now putting a little bit of structure. So this is the defining the problem stage that I was talking about in our problem solving approach. So here we put a little bit of structure into the problem that we're trying to solve. So for context, during 2019, as we saw, 64% of the terminations happened during the first 60 days. And also to add context to this problem, in 2019, we finished the year with a headcount very close to 15,000 people in the company, and a global attrition close to 117%. So that means that every year there are around 18,000 people that leave the company or that attrit, and 64% of those happen within the first 60 days. So that's an incredible number of people that are leaving in the first couple of days, and that's the main objective that we're going to be focusing on as we work on 0 to 60. And similar to end-to-end, where we had little n as the single metric of success for the project, in 0 to 60, we're looking at what we're calling 0 to 60 attrition. And that is the fraction of all the number of agents that terminated or that are treated during the first 60 days, divided by the total number of terminations or attrition throughout the year. So this can give us that percentage that we want to decrease. And for 0 to 60, similar to what we did on end-to-end, we're going to be piloting this project and process on 3 sites. So that's Mexico City, Coeur d'Alene, and Troy. And the immediate objective, and the reason that we say immediate is because, as we said, this project ultimately becomes a process. So we have an immediate objective that is our short-term goal, but this is going to evolve as we work and optimize the process. So right now we're looking at decreasing 0 to 60 attrition by half over historical rates. So if we had 50%, we want to have 25%. And once we have 25%, we're gonna keep improving and optimizing the process as much as we can. So lastly, I wanna we had this slide just to tie everything together and to explain why we do what we do. So we have a very special mission at Qualfon, and that is to be the best and make each person's lives better. And that is the whole reason of why we're putting so much effort into optimizing these processes, not only for operational excellence, but also to make each person's lives better. And that's why, as we document and implement these processes, we're implementing person moments of care inside each one of these processes. So what is a person moment of care? These are very simple and practical moments embedded in our operating processes where the employee gets to experience their mission. So it's like an eureka moment where they get to live the mission, and really they understand and believe that pursuing their total vocation is a real focus of Qualfon. Thank you, Jeremy. So I think this is the last slide that we have. So now we'll open the floor for some questions.
Great. Thank you very much, JP. And as JP mentioned, we do have some time now to answer questions. And joining us, Al here is here, obviously. Matt Carlton, who is our Senior Manager of Advanced Leadership Academy, and Alvaro Perez Alonso. And Alvaro, I don't know what to call you. I mean, I just call you Alvaro, but maybe Alvaro, we'll put you on the spot first and let you explain a little bit about what you're doing with the poets.
Definitely.
There you go.
Thank you very much for that. The mute button was hiding from me for some reason. So within the department, my official role is the senior manager for the poets team. What I will be doing, though, is that I will be in charge of something that Al already mentioned, which is the QPR, or the quarterly process reviews. Part of my role will also be administrating certain things within the team, but my main focus would be doing exactly that. It is a key component of the whole department, since every time that we perform a review, we might find things, challenges, red flags, or even some obstacles that we need to overcome. Therefore, we will see some new projects being born in that very same moment. Part of our role and my team's role will be to guide the process owner and coach them and help them and provide them as much tools as we can in order for them to be able to overcome these obstacles and, of course, achieve that the final goal that they want or that they need to get to. If that makes any sense.
Great, thank you. We have a couple questions here, and Alvaro or Al or anyone else is welcome to chime in here. Amy Gregg, hi Amy. Amy says, I love this model. Is the company rolling this POET concept out to all areas within the organization?
I'll take that one, Jeremy, and perhaps use my time a little bit to explain better what we're doing, because this is new, and it's not only new for us, but it's new for everybody else in the company, obviously. Yes, these are corporate processes, and this is Amy, right? Amy, it is this is a corporate initiative. So what we are doing in this particular area, where actually JP and also Alvaro are working in very hard, is corporate-wide. So it is all across the company. The end-to-end process was implemented everywhere in every single site in the company, and it will continue to do so with the 0 to 60 and the B2P, which is another process that is coming, and so forth. So same thing, Alvaro will be continuing to doing the reviews of the implemented process and trying to find opportunities for improvement, so we can always improve those processes. As you see, the 0 to 60, and I saw a couple questions in the Q&A that I'm going to go ahead and start responding, Jeremy.
Great.
One of the questions is, what are we doing in the recruiting side in order to perhaps avoid a little bit of that 64% that JP was mentioning? And that is a very good question. I would say to that question two things. One is, the data that you see is basically 2019. The implementation of end-to-end, which is the new process for recruitment, was done between June and December of 2019, mostly towards the end of the year, okay? So I would hope to see that number, simply because we are recruiting better now, I would hope to see that number falling almost naturally in 2020. However, because we understand in this company very well that continuous improvement means continuously improve, the recruiting team is going to be improving their processes, their internal processes, meaning that they will hire better and better. We have a targeting the best campaign. And when we say the best, we refer to the agent that we want to hire. So that will, I think that will continue to improve.
So,
and I also,
oh, go ahead, Al.
I also wanted to clarify the fourth account, and I'm sorry I missed it. That's a very important account, and that is Amazon. So the 4 strategic accounts that we're going to be focusing on are T-Mobile, Uber, ARS, which is Allstate, and Amazon. And I have a very nice announcement here to make. Kim Carr, our valuable and very lovely Kim Carr, our own, she will be joining the team. At this point, she has already accepted and signed the offer letter, which we're very, very happy for. But she has to conclude some very important responsibilities that she had specifically with Amazon. So we, at this point, we welcome Kim. We thank you very much, Kim, for joining the team. I think we're going to have a lot of professional fun together. And Kim is going to be focusing on the strategic accounts, and I will be working very close with Kim in developing this area.
Al, this idea of attrition is a very hot topic. We can see from the questions here. We do not have time to address all these, but I do want everyone to know these questions that you are submitting, we will answer these, and we'll send these out in form of an email. So these will be answered. We just do not have time to answer them all today. I do want to, there's one quick question, Al, maybe you can answer. Does this POET initiative, does this include marketing services, formerly Group 4?
Yes, it does. Yeah, absolutely it does. As a matter of fact, when we say we implemented the end-to-end process everywhere in the company, legacy Dialog Direct was, of course, included, and it will continue to be included, of course. Yeah.
Great.
Good question.
Thank you very much. And we are out of time for this session. As I mentioned, we will send out the answers to these other questions that you've submitted. Make plans to join us next month for QML 26, and enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of your day today. We'll see you all.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, JP, Matt, Alvaro.
Bye-bye.